playing pinball. All right, so now I think it's time to get to the segment everybody's been waiting for. These are the most 80s pinball machines ever. So Nick and I both compiled.
No debate. That's it. Definitive.
That's it.
Objectively, they're the most 80s pins ever. So said by Nick Lane and Kevin Manning.
These are objective facts. There are no such thing as opinions in pinball. Only facts. So we're gonna start out. Nick, why don't we go through your? So we had some crossover. So we both developed lists. There was some crossover. So we'll give those at the end as the most 80s pins. But in the beginning here, let's talk through the ones that we singled out on our own as the most 80s pins. So Kevin and I only had, believe it or not, 4 that overlapped. Yeah.
All right, and I think that's because we looked at like things through a different lens. So maybe Kevin, as I go through the list, and I'll start in order. If you can, should maybe show some pictures. And
yep.
I've got to say as a caveat, these are games that if I'm lucky, maybe I've played a few times. I've not played most of these games a lot just because most people don't want these games or collect these games. Again, the thing about collectors is most collectors are really boring, including myself sometimes. Well, I think I'm pretty decent, but like everybody wants the newest and greatest game, and they discount some of these games, sometimes for good reason and sometimes for not. So one thing I'm excited about the co-op is we're going to have more of these games to play, right? Anyways, without further ado, and this is in no particular order. I want to highlight that. So my unique game that Kevin did not have was Monte Carlo. You're going to notice a lot of Gottliebs on here, and I think what the lens that I looked for an 80s game is like, you just look at that back glass, and most people with common sense will be able to be like, and you ask them when that game is made, they're going to look at the hairstyle, the outfits, the theme, and it is definitively 80s. And that's what I looked at it. Like, granted, like I could have said like RoboCop. It's like, RoboCop's 80s. It came out in the 80s, but I wasn't looking for like, it was a movie that came out. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to show you a picture of a pinball machine. You tell me when this came out. Monte Carlo. There you go. So our friend Matt snagged this game. I can't wait to play it more. Gottlieb always has amazing 80s synth music, which is another thing that makes this super 80s. So it's Monte Carlo. My next one.
Well, can I just say, I've been watching the morning show on Apple TV, and if you want to see Jennifer Aniston and John Hamm play Monte Carlo, you can do it in that TV series. I was like, they're playing Monte Carlo, because you can see the little roulette wheel in the middle of the play field. So stonks are going up on Monte Carlo, ladies and gentlemen.
100%. All right, next, Kevin, can we look at Torpedo Alley?
Oh, absolutely.
Torpedo Alley is not a game, again, I guess, that people see a lot of. I would love to get my hands on a Torpedo Alley, by the way. I think it'd be fun. This is a Data East game from like the later 80s. I think it's 87. But again, this falls in my criteria. You look at the back glass, you see just 80s kind of spandex outfits. They're real people, so this is not a drawing on the back glass.
Yeah, I gotta find that.
This is what the 80s were doing, right? They were taking like real photos instead of just drawing it, which makes it super cheesy. But yeah, look at those butts. There's even a man butt,
It's all,
you got 80s hairstyle, 80s thing, like, love it.
equal
Fantastic.
opportunity butts.
That's right. That's what we like. I don't know. I can't speak to the music because I think I played it once at Papa or Pinburg or Replay FX or whatever. But that's a game I'd love to spend some time on. Next is, here we go. Another Gottlieb. Here's a shocker. Diamond Lady.
Oh, Diamond Lady.
Diamond Lady.
All right, here we go.
It is that like blown out 80s haircut. And all this, like, there is a recurring thing with these 80s games, which are about like luxury, elegance, and money. Like, that's peak boomer lifestyles of the rich and famous. We haven't even gotten to like the peak game, but yeah, there it is. There's Diamond Lady.
Oh yeah.
There's 80s, like just the fonts, the art.
I love the just like there's like so many pictures of the Diamond Lady all over the playfield, and they're photorealistic. And if you want to know where Scooby-Doo got their drop target between the flippers from, Diamond Lady, baby.
There's no question about that game is from the 80s, right? That's what makes it 80s. It's not 70s, it's not 90s. That's clearly in the 80s. All right. Next for me for my most 80s pinball machine is this one's diverting a little bit because it's not a photo back glass. It's I don't think it is. It's Spectrum.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Spectrum Pinball is now. If somebody looked at that and thought that that came out in the 70s or late 70s, I would understand, good sir, or maybe 1% of women that listen to this podcast. I understand. However, this is a early 80s. It's a 1982 game. It's like, what the fuck is this theme, right? So, all right, like that is super 80s haircut, 80s style. It's got these rainbow colors on it, but also black. Black seems to be like, and it's got these kind of like circuit board art. So, yeah, it's Spectrum. Screams 80s. Could be mistaken for 70s, but early 80s is what it's signaling. All right, here we go. Going back to what I was saying earlier about the kind of like this boomer flex of money, we've got Millionaire. This is I believe this is a Bally game, right, Kev?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Williams, 1987, Millionaire.
Okay, so Millionaire is fucking hysterically funny as an 80s game because
Oh my God, look at
this is a product of its time. Look at this elegance. This is a boomer flex. They made a pinball machine about being rich. That was the theme. He's got the 80s stash.
Yeah, look at
He's
that.
got the limo that it looks like a child designed because it's just a box. Got the mansion in there. It's got the yacht. I'm surprised they're not doing like a line of Coke on it. But what's also puts it at a time in the 1980s is that like today, if somebody's like, yeah, I've got $1 million and I've got $1 million saved for retirement, I'd be like, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna make it? You gonna get a side job? $1 million is nothing today, and it's progressively becoming worthless. So my alternative title for this game is called Fiat. But yeah, that's Millionaire by Williams. Peak 80s, very 80s. Pairs nicely with Monte Carlo, by the way.
Oh yeah, they both have roulette wheels. I just noticed. So if you want roulette wheels, get those in a teed off, and you'll be all set.
It's elegance. And then last but not least, for my game that differs than Kevin for my peak 80s is Spring Break Pinball. Surprise, surprise! This is
I should have had this on my list.
This is another Gottlieb pinball machine. Kevin, let's look at that. This is another photo back glass.
Oh my God!
And not just one photo, but there's many photos in this thing. It's hard to find a good photo.
Oh God!
Okay, so let's talk about this photo. We've got people at the beach flexing like muscle men, ladies checking them out. Then you have like potentially like a bikini contest, I think, in the upper left.
Yeah, but t-shirt contest probably is what that is.
In a pool drinking. Now, what I was telling Kevin earlier, what I like about the picture of the three dudes in a pool drinking is that they all look like they're from the 80s. However, here's the twist. Kids these days, like, they dress up and they cosplay like they're in the 80s or 90s. So this is like come full circle, right? This could be today.
Yeah.
This could be today. This is very fucking 80s. And then even on the bottom right corner, you've got a bunch of ladies in bikinis. Again, real photos. These are real people. And you have like imitation Spuds McKenzie.
Yeah. And like surrounding them, you've got sand and there's sunglasses, like checkered sunglasses. And
there's a bikini top that's just taken off there.
Yeah, just hanging out there. You got like the 80s radio with the tape deck in it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's let's not neglect this playfield art. The topless lady that's covering herself up with her arms.
Spring break, baby.
And we got
it's hijinks and fun.
And you've got leopard print on the drop targets.
Oh, leopard print is peak 80s.
That is really good. Oh, there's the Spuds McKenzie here again too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Spring break. All right.
That might win. That might be the most 80s, but we didn't necessarily agree on all of those. So
yeah, we didn't want to put these in a rank, but yeah, dude, the leopard print.
That's really good.
God, so much 80s in that. And we didn't even talk. I mean, you can't even get into the music because it's been a while since we heard the music on it. But rest assured, very 80s.
Okay, so one game that came to mind for me is let me grab a good photo here. It is BMX, because when you think 80s, man, everybody was BMXing all over the place. They didn't make a lot of these, but I feel like this is a theme. You know, you had your movies about BMX. Everybody had their sweet rides with their you had the pegs on your back wheel. So BMX, definitely a peak 80s game. It doesn't have that cheese factor about it, but I feel like it just like encapsulates one of those things that was kind of ubiquitous. If you were a kid in the 80s, you probably had a BMX bike. All right, so let's pop back over here. It's going to be a little less smooth when I'm finding the pictures and talking. So my next one, Nick liked this one. He regretted not having this.
Yeah, I regretted this one. I missed.
And I don't want to give away my searches because that'll spoil it. Here you go. It is Laser War. Laser War this is a Data East game. Came out in, I don't have the year in front of me, but Laser War, again, another thing that was like peak 80s was laser tag. Man, we loved laser tag. And if another incredible backlash photo
more spandex. God, I'll tell you right now, Data East, they got a deal on spandex.
Yeah, they got their spandex. They got their ladies out of wherever they were getting them out of. And this dude blasting this wall for some reason. She's almost shooting him in the head. Laser War, highly recommended. In digital stereo, no less.
And we talk about Gottlieb a lot and their photo backglasses, but Data East, I kind of forgot that they were doing that too. I mean, I did have Torpedo Alley, but they were over there saying, you know what? I really like what Gottlieb's doing by not hiring artists and just snapping some pictures.
Yeah, Data East was giving them a run for their money, and I feel like sometimes.
What's interesting though is I think Data East tried a little harder because they seem to have like costumes that they purchased. With like Spring Break, I swear to God, they just like sent a photographer down there and was taking pictures, and they're like, "We got it."
Yeah. My next machine is not turning up in the search for whatever reason. But my next search, everybody knows this one, TX Sector. I put that one on the list because the music is unquestionably 80s, super synth, amazing sound. If you hear that game playing, it's a dance party in a box. You
couldn't find that in
I don't know why it's not
in Google.
Yeah, no,
Google
I'm
Images?
searching it on the Pinside database and it's not turning up.
Just look at Google Images. It might be your best bet. You got to show the people some. But I to Kevin's point, like it's even though the flyer's a good one. The flyer, like
that's good. I like
the
that.
The flyer's good. Yeah, and the flyer's on Pinside, by the way. I mean, like the chick in the chick in the flyer thing has like 80s haircut. She's got like so 80s,
yeah,
dude.
So this is the front of the flyer.
Oh yeah,
and then let me see if I can go to the next.
Look at that jump suit that she's in or whatever.
Yeah, that's really good. And then this is the winner right here.
That's what I was looking at. Yeah.
So there's the back glass, and then man, look at her. She is peak 80s right there.
Yeah, 100%.
The jacket, the haircut, the little art by the eye, the makeup by the eye. That's good.
Because she's in the future, Kevin.
The 80s, we were all about the future.
Yeah.
And the back glass always looking washed out for whatever reason. Whatever special technique they decided to do for that always made it look weird.
I think they're just bad and washed out. I think if you got a new one, that'd be fine. But I think it's just
the next one might be a little controversial because it was technically the machine was released in 1990. Okay.
Oh, Kevin, I don't count. It doesn't count then.
But the show came out in the 80s. So
doesn't matter. Does matter.
Which makes it an 80s theme.
Kevin's cheating.
No. So it's roller games. Rock and roll. Look at this game. There's no denying this is 80s.
Yep.
Pink.
That is very
blue.
much so. Yeah.
I mean, you can't deny it. Roller games is special place in my heart because it was my first pinball machine. But if you're looking for the most 80s pinball machines, this one has to be in consideration for that.
Neon colors. I think there's some like leopard print right on their outfits.
Yeah.
It sings the 80s song rock and roller games, which is again peak 80s.
It's got the confetti on there. The confetti design is very 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck were they thinking?
Yeah. And roller derby in itself, roller skating, roller derby, everybody was doing that in the 80s. So you got to throw that in the mix.
I wasn't, but everybody but me.
We were roller,
I was roller skating, yeah. You go to roller skating parties.
That's right. Your birthday parties were at the roller rink. And you'd go to the arcade because you didn't want to socialize with people. You go play video games and pinball in the arcade.
That's exactly what I did. I stumble around on the rink. I do a lap, hugging the wall, and I'm like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna go play like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles."
Yeah, I'm gonna go play Mat Mania and Turbo and all sorts of stuff in the arcade instead. So there you go. That's roller games. Here's this one. I like this. I like this pick. This was a good pick. I'm gonna pat myself on the back. It's when you think 80s, you think space, right? And nothing is more space than the space shuttle. So Space Shuttle is one of my picks. 1985 Barry Ausler game, or 84. Sorry. Here it comes. It's Space Shuttle. So there's, thanks for, there you go. Man, it's got a space shuttle on there. Very, very 80s. NASA, going to space. We love it. The space shuttle was a timeless piece of 80s nostalgia. This is an interesting one with this weird apron thing going on, but that's a more traditional looking space shuttle. I wanted to find what's the Steve Ritchie game that was not Star Wars, but it was basically Star Wars. I don't know. I couldn't remember what the name of it was, but that was going to be my nomination. It's like everybody ripping off Star Wars was very 80s. Stellar Wars, that's the one. Was the one that Steve Ritchie did. But in lieu of that, we have Space Shuttle, because I feel like you can't talk about the 80s and not talk about Space Shuttle. And one more I'm going to pull up here before we move to our top 4 that we both agreed on. Bear with me while I Google it. It depends how it's spelled here. Yeah, here we go. So this is going to be... I kind of cheated and I went for a twofer, but I wanted to capture the idea of the video arcade, because video arcade games were very 80s. So my pick is PacMan and Mr. and Mrs. PacMan / Baby PacMan. So either one of these, there's nothing more 80s than PacMan. Neither one of these were really great games, but that wasn't our criteria for being on this list. You just had to encapsulate all things that were 80s. And Baby Pac-Man even brought in the video game aspect and integrated physical pinball. So you would play a maze game Pac-Man at the top on the CRT screen, and then you would drop down and play physical pinball. The Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man was kind of the opposite. It was all physical pinball, but the inserts on the play field, you can play like a Pac Maze sort of game. So using the flipper buttons, you would navigate your way around a little maze in the beginning. So Caveman's also another one. There's a few games that integrated video games and pinball in the 80s. Caveman is one. Granny and the Gators is another one. I'm sure there's another one or two more, but those are my picks for the most 80s pinball machines.
All right, let's go to our overlapping. We've got 4 that overlapped, and these 4 have something in common where they all have photo back glasses.
Okay,
which
is start at the bottom and work our way up.
For 80s.
Could go either way.
These are kind of actually in order of peak 80s. So yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
All right.
There we go. All right. You do the honors on this one.
Yeah. Starting at the bottom is this should be no surprise to people who pay attention to this channel, because I own this fucking game and I'm very proud of it. It's Bad Girls.
Bad Girls.
Bad Girls. We got a photo back glass. We've got a bunch of hookers on the back glass. We've got a very much decisively 80s bar with this kind of like the chrome and the mirror finish everywhere. And anybody who's heard the music on this game stole music from Michael Jackson's Bad album in 1987, and one of the tracks is in this game, thus making it, if it wasn't 80s enough, they really sealed the deal with that. I would argue that the 80s-ish colors, again, like a lot of 80s colors is a lot of black, but then you've got, there's not neon per se. They go with a lot of pink, but they've got, the ladies are kind of like kind of punk looking, right? 80s punk vibe to them. The paneling on the cabinet is mirrored as well. There's like mirrored panels.
Oh yeah, let me see if I can find that.
And then the music in the game's fantastic. Just very Gottlieb crushed it with like the 80s synth on the games of this era. But make no mistake, you walk up to this game, you play this game, it is It is 80s. It's peak 80s.
Yeah, there's no like cabinet shots, but there's mirroring on the side, which is really good. And the Bad Girls font on it is very, very 80s too, like that style of typography. There you go. So that's that one. All right, why don't you tee up the next one?
Okay, so the next one is another one. This was came up to the chat said this better be on there, and the chat was right. So that is another Gottlieb game, a game you don't see too often. A game we haven't played a ton, but that's Raven, which is so Gottlieb was doing this thing in the 80s where they weren't securing rights to popular things. Like there was a game called Gold Wings, and Gold Wings was supposed to be Top Gun, while Raven was basically Rambo, but instead of getting licensed for Rambo, they called it Raven. And they have a woman on the back glass, and it's again a photo back glass, so it looks cheesy as hell. You've got like the 80s female short perm on it. Like you can't tell if this woman is like 20 or 52, right? Like this is like that's how the 80s rolled. All right, no idea how old this person is. But that's Raven. I don't think this is particularly a good game. At least the ones I've ever played never felt good, never felt great. And a lot of the 80s Gottlieb games that we talk about are, as cheesy as they are pretty good.
Yeah.
This game never struck me as good. Somebody can convince me I'm wrong. I'm cool with that. But yeah.
I want this game to be good, but it's like, yeah, like you said, anytime I've played it, the flippers haven't felt great, and it's just kind of like the shots aren't there. So
yeah,
not the best representation of gameplay, but I mean, the theme is undeniably 80s.
Dr. Blueberry Johnson says it's a horrible game, so
thanks for
I take that to the bank.
All right, what do we got next? Okay, you can tee this one up.
All right, the next is one that we streamed within the last year. Surprise, surprise, another Gottlieb. I mean, we could have been super lazy and just picked a bunch of the 80s Gottlieb with photo back glasses. Another game that should have been licensed, but Gottlieb cheaped out on it, and as they cheaped out on artists and just hired a photographer, and that is Hollywood Heat, which is supposed to be Miami Vice, and you don't get much more 80s than that. We've got a 80s Corvette in the background. We've got fake Don Johnson. We got two ladies with bikinis by it. You've got that like pink. What color like pink is that? Like a pastel?
Yeah, the pink and blue combo is very, very 80s.
You got 80s font.
Yeah.
All over it.
Yeah, the font is even like a ripoff of the Miami Vice logo.
The soundtrack's the 80s synth banger, by the way. I don't love this game. Patrick has it. I don't know if it was just it felt a little weak at time with the flippers. It didn't feel like as much as I love. Like I love Bad Girls. I didn't love the playability of this game. But without a doubt, everything about this game, for the art, the colors in the art, to the back glass, to the actual theme that it's ripping on, it is very, very unmistakably 80s.
All right. We got two more. And I'll get this one.
One more.
Up. Oh, yeah, that's right. The ultimate one.
The ultimate one. The ultimate. And debatable of the ultimate 80s, but I am inclined. It's tough to say what's the most 80s.
There may be some recency bias here too, but I mean
recency bias probably.
Yeah.
Let's just look at the backlash of this game. This game, believe it or not, is not a Gottlieb. But
it's hard to believe.
Even Bally, like again, I don't know what was in the fucking water around like 1985 to 88, which is where these games came out. But another photo backlash, and that's Hardbody. Hardbody, you've got this female muscle builder, blown out 80s hair. The same concept goes again. I don't know if she's 20 or 50 years old in this. Hard to tell. She's in a bikini in the back glass on 4 photos. But also the back glass is that shitty, in the background's like the shitty like grid style. You've got the 80s color. Again, the pink all over. This pink color that we found in Bad Girls, we saw in Hollywood Heat. It's here again. This is not even the same company that's doing it. And the theme is peak 80s, where the theme is all about muscles, right? You have all the movies with like Schwarzenegger and these kind of muscle men movies. Well, now, this is something for the ladies. We've got Hardbody. you guys some, I don't know, Kevin. What the fuck?
I mean, the grid pattern is unmistakable on this game.
Yeah.
And then
no
just
one would do that today.
Yeah, the bodies with no heads all over the playfield.
That's not necessarily 80s. It's a weird design choice.
It's a weird design choice, but yeah. It's very strange, very strange. And yeah, the more I played this game, I'm like, yeah, this is so 80s. I liked how on the upper playfield they put the time and effort in to make this hard body light up, and it's got like sequential lighting on it. It's got some inline drop targets. Man, yeah, like you said, the bodybuilding, the Muscle Beach stuff, that's all super 80s. The look and feel of this game, the cheese factor, like this checks all those boxes. So seal of approval as most 80s game is determined by us.
And just the like, you could talk about the odd theme choices, right?
Yeah.
Like, so Hollywood Heat and Raven, like they're like a knockoff of a license, and that's not necessarily odd to me, right? Like, because we do licenses all day. But Bad Girls and Hardbody really just peak weird 80s unique themes that would just never come out today, right? Like, even American Pinball wouldn't do this. I don't want to put anything past them, but even them.
That's saying something.
So yeah, that is Nick and Kevin's list of peak 80s pinball machines.
Scribble's not sure about that. He thinks AP might do it. They might. You never know.
Like I said, I put myself in outlet. I don't put anything past them. I don't know. My prediction's still in play that they're going to go out of business within 2 years. So we're about there's still about a year and a half to go for my prediction.
Nice. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Brody Even Talk Pinball.